How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lone Wolf, and today I'm going to go and do a mission. I'm going to go and do this one called Water Boom 3, where you've just got to go and restore. It's the difference between these water towers and water booms. The reason I wanted to do this one is somebody said in the comments that like water tower or boom, sorry, 3 and 4 are linked together, and then 1 and 2 are linked together as well. So I wanted to go and try that out. I've already restored Water Boom 4 the other day. Yeah, so for this one I'm going to go to the garage. I can get all the supplies there. I need 1 cabin, 1 metal rolls and 2 packaged sand. And then take that across, kind of wiggle across that centre of the map to, yeah, the 3rd water boom tower thing. And then I wanted to test it out to see. Yeah, like I say, someone was saying that you can like transfer the water between the 2 towers, and I was just kind of interested to see if that was even true or not, because there's a few different things that people have said regarding like the water towers, booms, how they work. I'm not 100%, but it sort of seems like people on PC might have things slightly different to people on PlayStation or just consoles in general, like the Xbox as well. A few people have said, this hasn't happened for me, but some people have been saying if you switch like the metrics in the settings from gallons to litres, and that has helped. Like some water towers haven't had water in them or something until they've switched the metrics, and then that fixes that bug. So yeah, there's a few different things, and I just wanted to go and try this one out. And yeah, for this one I've got the ANK MK38 civilian, so it's just, yeah, the ANK, but I can have like a saddle low on it, so obviously I've got the step deck trailer at the minute with a goddamn horse with me, and I got the custom muds on as well, so they sit nice and wide, so thought it might help with the rolling a bit. And for this, I drove to this warehouse. It's pretty near to the garage, but I purposely chose like a bit more of an awkward route out of there, sort of going across these rocks and then connecting to the bridge. So I just wanted to see. I drove in this way when I originally came to this warehouse, but I wanted to see what it was like getting out of there, really. Yeah, so 1 cabin, 1 metal rolls, 2 packaged sand. And at this point, by the way, I've used this cabin. There's a water tower, a tower, not a boom, to fix on this map that's kind of up, I suppose like the top middle of the map, nearest to the gateway. That needs a cabin, and I believe I've now run out of cabins, but there's a warehouse kind of in the top right of the map where you can build cabins and, is it consumables as well? It's a weird one. I think it's consumables, where it takes a ridiculous amount of supplies just to build 1 consumable. There is also, oh no, I don't think you can actually. I was going to say the railway station up in the top left, but I don't think you can get cabins from there. So yeah, to fix the water tower at some point, I'll have to go and get the supplies needed, really, to go and build a cabin. But yeah, like I say, I was curious with this mission. And you can see, getting out of here, going this way, it's not too bad up to this point. I probably might have been better off going over to the right and kind of going round that telegraph pole kind of to the right instead of the left, because I kind of cut it a bit short for my turning circle here to get onto the bridge. I definitely think, though, the step deck trailer does, well, I suppose it's always sat low, but I definitely think it's catching more, or it weighs more now. It seems to dig in more. I'm kind of scuffing it against the rocks. And the winches these days as well are pretty weak, to be honest. Kind of trying to pull the trailer around, but it's not got as much oomph as it used to. I'd say back in the day it would have either pulled that trailer pretty much consistently over to the telegraph pole, or it would have tipped the trailer. Whereas there, it was kind of doing it in little increments where it sort of needs to build the power up, but it's definitely weaker than it used to be. It's getting a bit close there, tipping. Well, one thing I did notice with this ANK civilian thing is, I don't know if it's just these tyres or the setup I'm running or whatever, but it seems like either the steering's not very good on it, or it understeers a lot, and like, you know, it in theory would be better if it didn't understeer. It was taking a lot of corners quite wide, and then trying to sort of get around this corner was not going too well, started destroying itself, which, to be fair, at this point I kind of knew if I carry on it'll probably keep doing that, where it takes bigger hits of damage on the suspension. Thankfully it didn't actually delete the suspension, but it did pop a tyre. Just trying to get the trailer hoisted around a bit more, but it's not really having it. It's funny, they see. Oh well, I'm assuming they probably have gone through the trailers because it's all gone a bit upside down from what it used to be. The ramped flatbed used to be notoriously tippy and trollish, and that seems relatively decent these days. This step deck used to essentially just feel like a sled. Like when you're pulling it behind you, it didn't really catch in anything. It'd just bump over all sorts. And yeah, that seems to be like more awkward these days. That little 2-slot sideboard trailer, that thing flops around like crazy. I suppose that always used to. It never really used to weigh a lot. So yeah, we got onto the bridge in the end. I, like I said, smashed half the suspension, also blown my front right tyre, so one of many reasons to get yourself a goddamn horse of a vehicle. Unpack him, switch over to him, he's got 4 spare tyres, so we're laughing. Gets his little victory horn. And the high gear as well, it's still feeling a little slower than normal, but again, with this truck, like, its lack of turn, and you can see I sort of understeered into that barrier going around the edge of that road. Here it's kind of going a bit wide there, then I'm already turning back the other way, and it's... I think I blipped the throttle there to kind of help catch up with itself, but yeah, it feels a little bit on the slow side. Overall though, the actual truck itself feels pretty decent. It still feels like it's got plenty of power, considering they've definitely broke the gearboxes in some way or another. But in the scheme of things, this feels like it gets off pretty lightly. Again, mainly if you can help it, like up in high gear with a high range gearbox, motors along pretty nicely. That's how trees should behave. It was a tree until I started running over it, and then it just died and kind of half phased through the map. It's more like it. Yeah, as well, yesterday with the live stream, again, apologies for it, but it just keeps blue screening me. It's driving me a bit mad, to be honest, because I've spent many hours by now. Just keep trying to go on the game, see what's... Again, I can't really see what causes a blue screen. I can just keep trial and error on if anything's helping or not, turning a few mods off and all that. Yeah, it just keeps doing it. Yesterday I put the game on, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours before the live stream. Drove around, it blue screened me, I loaded it back up, left it there for a little bit just for the truck parked on the map and kind of, I don't know, put the TV back on or whatever I was up to. Went back a few hours later and the game was still on, but then within a few minutes when I was driving around, blue screened. I got blue screened about 5 or 6 times, and then I loaded it back up, and it was about, I think it was about 2 in the morning, so I had about half an hour to the live stream, and I thought if it doesn't blue screen in the next 10-15 minutes, I might give it a go and just go ahead with a live stream and sort of fingers crossed, hope for the best. And then yeah, literally like 2 or 3 minutes later, I drove out of the yard and it blue screened again, and it's just, I don't know, I think I'm going to get like a 5-10 minute live stream out of it, if that, which is pretty much just kind of like setting up a vehicle at the start. At this point yesterday as well, I wasn't even using like travelling to different phases of the game to kind of trigger the blue screen. I was just, I built a few trucks, they were in the yard, I was loading like a loaf onto them and just putting a trailer together, just all sorts of things like that, just to kind of cut that part out of when, if and when I start the live stream. And yeah, just in amongst doing that, there's something, I don't know if it's specifically the yard on Albany River, like the garage, but it does seem a little bit iffy, like the trees don't load in very well in the background, and a lot of the times when you press like to look on the map, it doesn't even load the road up outside the garage or anything for sort of 5 odd seconds, so I don't know if it's just struggling with it. It's definitely the mods are making the situation worse, because again now I'm on my normal playthrough with no mods, and touch wood I haven't had a blue screen. Yeah, yesterday obviously when I put my mods on, put my mod playthrough, load that up, it just, I don't know, something's triggering it. And I've probably had it, I don't know, 40 or 50 times in the last couple of weeks, trying out, like, testing it for the live streams. Yeah, it's definitely driving me a bit mad, to be honest. The only thing I'm kind of grateful for is at least it's not doing it every 5 minutes on my normal playthrough when I haven't got mods. so I've still been able to make videos. But yeah, I don't really like missing the live streams, but it's just the fact that when it does blue screen me, it automatically ends the live stream. If it didn't, I could probably give it a few attempts, but yeah, it's when I did it a couple of weeks ago, it was just a bit of a disaster really. I got the first live stream lasted 5 minutes, I think. Second live stream was 2.5 minutes, and the third live stream was about 6 minutes or something. And some of that time I was just kind of sat still in the yard doing nothing to try and hope it'd help things, but yeah, it's just not, so I'm not really too sure. I've never had any issues. I'll just say, there's one thing I did try. I took AGL's, the new Derry and the new Zix, I took those mods off, because although I've never had an issue with any of AGL's mods, I just wasn't sure if the game was freaking out, as in, because I haven't actually unlocked the Derry or the Zix on my mod playthrough yet, if the game was like freaking out that I shouldn't have those trucks unlocked, but I have. So I tried that, and that didn't make any difference. It was still blue screening me, so I've put those mods back on, and again, I've built like the Derry, I was driving that around the yard and stuff. It's working for 5 or 10 minutes, but for whatever reason, when I'm moving around, at least anyway, if I just park a truck up and don't touch the game at all, it seems to, it'll sit there and it won't crash. But yeah, as soon as I start driving around, it just at some point, in a matter of minutes, it inevitably does the blue screen, and yeah, that'll be like live stream over. So I'm not too sure. I'm still hoping that they figure something out and get it patched and sorted. A few people suggested was it like rebuild the database or something on my PlayStation. I've already tried that, and sadly that didn't work. I've deleted the game off my PlayStation and re-downloaded the whole game, and that didn't work. So I don't know. I've sort of tried just about everything, and yeah, I don't know. It just still keeps doing it. So there's either one particular mod that's triggering it, or it's just, generally speaking, the game's like already struggling to load stuff. And yeah, it's doing it. I don't know. I've turned a few 5 or 10 mods off that I haven't used for a while, so I've kind of lost them on other maps, but I've freed up a bit of space and all that, and yeah, it's not helping at the minute, which is a bit of a pain. Getting a bit low on fuel now, that's the main reason. I mean, I'm always going to bring a goddamn horse with me just in case I roll or whatever, but I kind of knew with this ANK, 200 litre fuel tank, but it burns through it quite quickly, so I was cutting it a bit fine. One nice thing with this ANK as well, I don't know if it's just these mud tyres on, because they do wheel spin quite a lot, which can be a pain, but it might help in the situation. When I was going through slower bits like I just did there, I was still able to stay in high gear, and it'd more wheel spin. It'd bleed quite a lot of speed, but at least you'd actually hear the engine kind of putting in some effort. Yeah, it's the most depressing thing when you get stuck in a patch of mud or whatever, but then you can just hear the engine revs die down, like the actual game's just capping your gearbox or your rev range. I don't like that. And yeah, this truck, it just stays in high gear quite nicely for most situations, even if you're going pretty slow. As long as you keep the power going and the wheel spin going, it doesn't kick you out of it. Right, so this is Water Boom 3. So I'll deliver these materials. It then fixes it up in like a little animation. And yeah, you get about 4.5 grand for doing the mission. It was kind of whatever, I wasn't really too fussed about that. To be fair, it was quite a nice little mission. Another excuse just to load up a trailer and go traipsing across the map. So yeah, like I say, someone was saying you can transfer the water between the towers, and I wasn't sure if that was even the case on like this PlayStation or whatever, but I wanted to give it a go. So I already had this ANK civilian at the water tower I built the other day. So as you orientate the map, this water tower I'm setting off from's in like the bottom right hand side of the map. It's so I can follow the most southern road kind of along the bottom of the map over to the left hand side. And again, even in like this setup with obviously the water tank loaded up, so the tower I've just been to is a proper tower, and that has unlimited water as far as I'm aware. It doesn't really have a value, it just says water tower and you can keep using water, so it doesn't seem to be capped at any amount. And yeah, this ANK again, I was quite happy with how it sort of ploughed along this road. Because for the most part, there's a lot of the Russian trucks are doing pretty well in this phase. The Tigers I was using the other day, oh in fact one Tiger I've not done the footage yet because I've still got to do the second half of the mission, delivering water to like the warehouse storage things up near the rail station. And then the Voron AE, the Voron Grad, the Voron D as well, not too bad, but it's got a custom gearbox, so it's probably a little bit slower. Yeah, they've all been feeling pretty good. Some of the American stuff, I've not used loads, but it sort of depends. One thing I will say though with this ANK Civilian, it can have muds, which it's one of the few, or relatively few American trucks that can actually have muds. But yeah, you can tell as well with this water tank, it's not like ridiculous on the weight, so it's not making me sort of boat left to right and try and tip immediately. And I could have cut this bit out, I suppose. I just figured, as it was the same vehicle I've just used, and a bit of a different setup, and quite a nice drive in general, thought I'd leave it in. And can you see, like, on the right-hand side of the screen, there's a pipe. If you actually look on the map, there is a pipe running from Water Boom 1 to Water Boom 2. I've not fixed either of them up yet, but I've relatively recently just drove past Water Boom 1. You can see the pipe, it now goes underground, and then it pops out that side and crosses the river, and basically that pipe does lead from Water Boom 1 to Water Boom 2. So that's like a bit of a hint. I mean, it's a very vague one. It's one of those things where this game doesn't give you much of a hint of like little mechanics and things that they implement into the game. So this being a prime example where you can transfer water between the towers, or the booms at least, or again, not all of them. It's 1 and 2 are kind of a pair, and 3 and 4 are a pair. And I've not done them yet, but I'm assuming on the Burned Forest map, I think I've seen like 5, 6, 7 and 8, so guess 5 and 6 will be a pair, 7 and 8 will be a pair. But yeah, there's no hint of it at all. Like when you complete these missions, it doesn't say anything about it. I still don't know really what it meant with the when I did the Water Boom 4 tower. It said like there's a little surprise in it for you or something, and it never gave me anything. I still don't really know what it was meaning by that. Yeah, these tyres not too great through those like watery sections. It's almost like these tyres are just kind of coded out of the club. They're not allowed in it. It's you just feel like it's more restrictive. As soon as you hit the water, it sort of slows you down a certain amount. Whether it feels realistic or not, it's just like you automatically get dropped into like a lower speed. But yeah, wiggle around this way, just go through there, because it's like a truck repair square thing. So you can see with the steering again, it's a little bit of a wide turning circle for the size of the vehicle. And this tank on me, by the way, I think it's, yeah, 1800 litres I've got in it. I've filled it up with water, so... I did notice earlier, I think when you transfer water to these vehicles, it doesn't look like it weighs anything. But I'm sure when I transfer it to a water trailer, once you've filled it up, that looks like the weight actually kicks in, so I'm not too sure. I'll have to probably do a bit more testing with that. Yeah, so this is the Water Boom 3. This is the one I've just built on like this video. So I've got 1800 litres in the ANK, I've got none in the tower, and the tower, yeah, the tower can hold up to 3,500. This is at Water Boom 4, which I did the other day, and I've already got 3,500 litres in the tower, but my truck and trailer is empty. That's what I drove here to fill it up. So that's 4, now I'm going back to 3. for some reason there's like, I've got water in the water boom 4, but there's none showing up in this one. However, I just transferred the water over to the tower from the ANK. I'm sorry, I know this is a bit confusing, but now I'm back at water boom 4, and I've got my trailer and truck filled up, and you can see there's now 1800 litres in the tower again, which is what I just loaded into the boom 3, and it's now appearing in boom 4. And then if I wanted, I could obviously, like, I think I've still got 300 litres of space in the ANK, so I could move a bit of that over, which I think I do. Yeah, so now there's 1500 litres in water boom 4. If I go back over to water boom 3, that's showing up as 1500 litres. So it is kind of working. I don't know why when I first got here it wasn't registering that there was any in this tower, even though there was in water boom 4. But once you've moved it around a little bit, it seems to actually kick in and register the fact that, yeah, they are actually transferring water between them, even though you can't see any pipe visible going between these two towers. And yeah, at this point I was just kind of experimenting back and forth, moving the water around. Now I've taken... what do we got? Oh no, sorry, I think I filled the ANK back up. Now I've filled water boom 4 up from that Taiga. And now, even though I've already filled this ANK back up, I've also got water in the tower again. So yeah, it is transferable. I really don't know where that's going to come in handy, to be honest, because I don't really think it's going to be any quicker or whatever to just, you know, drive between the towers anyway, instead of doing it like that. But it is what it is. It's a little feature there if it ever comes in handy. But yeah, that's about it for today though. I hope you've enjoyed. I hope that helps. Thanks for watching. Thanks to our Patreon members. Get yourself a loaf because he's a beast, and I'll be back soon.